Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, November 7, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm push the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 6:15 p.m. Jamaica time, we can see that tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days, and this is the reason why the Atlantic definitely looks quiet at this time. Nothing trying to organize itself at all. What looks like a tropical wave right here to the east of Nicaragua, what looks like another tropical wave, if not a trough, right here to the east of the Windward Islands. And we know that if something should form here across the Atlantic, the next name after Melissa is Nestor. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, just as mentioned, it's actually a trough right here to the east of the Windward Islands. Troughs are represented by the broken orange lines. We can see numerous frontal systems across the northern portion of North Atlantic, extending all the way across from east to west into even portion of the United States, all the way over into Western Europe. And we can see a ridge of high pressure embedded in there that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean, and maybe sending that trough to the west into the Caribbean as well. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, we can make out the clouds associated with the frontal systems spreading out from east to west across the northern portion of North Atlantic into portions of the United States, and we can see the clouds associated with that trough just to the east of the Lesser Antilles. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Friday, November 7, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast of parts of some northern and western parishes during Friday afternoon. And we know that when we're talking about northern parishes, we're referring to those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. While western parishes, we're referring to those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 4:25 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted not only here on our Twitter page with Jamaica, but they were also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you cannot afford to miss. So we can see the clouds that were building and definitely brought some overcast skies, if not some isolated thundershowers across sections of some northern and western parishes. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images right here of Jamaica before we lost sunlight. We definitely had that rainfall across far western Portland into St. Mary, section of St. Anne, section of Trelawney, so to St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, and even portions of northwestern St. Elizabeth got in on some of the action. And we can even see on the infrared the thunderstorms that took place. We had some cumulonimbus clouds in the blues, greens, yellows, oranges, and reds. And we even see the sparkling white dust that we know represents some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, especially across sections of St. James into Trelawney right there. And we can also see those upper level winds blowing those cloud tops off towards the east, just as we stated it would in yesterday's video. And we definitely have footage right here of what took place on the south coast. This is in Halfway Tree today. We see the Halfway Tree live camera here from Jamaica's YouTube channel. This is showing around 1:10 p.m. and as you can see here, definitely sunny for the most part, a bit windy. Nothing to do with bad weather taking place, people walking about, going about their business. We also have people in their vehicles going about their business. And I guess that was just the order of the day for today on the south coast for sure. And if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we had that rainfall today, especially across some northern and western parishes for sure. And we have just a few comments confirming what the weather is like in some of our followers' areas. We have El Mulan stating, hot, lots of mosquitoes and no JPS for a fun. Boy, I feel your pain. We have Georgia Williamson stating, hot in Portmore. We have Brie._official stating, rain just start tear out of nowhere here in St. Mary, mighty God. And we have one.oza stating, got rain in her area. We even had Haya Data stating hot in her area, and Marlon_one God_ stating hot in his area. Alright, thank you all for confirming what the weather is like in your area for today. Let us reload the very latest still image here from the Weather Nerds website. Let us see what's happening right now. And the latest still image is showing 0015 UTC, which is actually 7:15 p.m. So this just came out 15 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:30 p.m. right now. And as you can see, we have the clouds that are still bringing some thunderstorms just to the waters to the north of St. James, Hanover, and Trelawney. I'm sure if they're on the north coast, they're looking out to sea, especially those areas that are still without power. I'm sure they're looking out to sea and they're seeing a lot of lightning flashes to the north of there. And we still have those upper level winds blowing those cloud tops off towards the east as we speak. But do we actually have rain bands maybe near the coast? Let us see. The latest Jamaican Doppler radar unfortunately still glitched out since Melissa. The Cuban Doppler radar is back up and running, we're pleased to say, but it looks like it glitched out earlier today at around 2:30 p.m. At that time, not really much was taking place across the island, so I'm guessing they still have some bugs to work out. Remember, even up to yesterday, it was still broken down, and the day before yesterday, it was showing Melissa still stuck. But it's nice to see that it's back up and running. More than likely, within the next 24 hours, it should be up and running completely, maybe showing us what's taking place. Taking a look at the Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar, we can actually make out some rainfall between Jamaica and Haiti. There's some light to moderate rainfall in the blues and the greens, nothing significant there. The Cayman radar actually showing the rainfall that are, dotting the coastlines of Trelawney, sections of Hanover, definitely coinciding with the latest infrared right here with some of these clouds. So we're grateful for the Cayman radar here. We're also seeing some rainfall to the north of the Cayman Islands, to the far south of there as well. Taking a look at what's happening right now, the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel is showing downtown Kingston, and as you can see, the usual way of people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business, nothing in the way of bad weather taking place, and that should be the order of the evening into the night. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in the grays that we know represents average temperature, 0 average temperatures, maybe even some slight yellows on the north coast that represents at least 1 degree Celsius above normal. But we know the average temperature for the month of November across Jamaica is around 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 31.1 degrees Celsius. So maybe anywhere from 31.1 to 32.1 degrees Celsius at most would be expected across Jamaica for Saturday. And we're grateful also that we don't see any maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS online Twitter page. Looks like we're not going to be getting any maintenance outages, considering that there are still parts of the island that are without electricity. They're still working on it. They made a post today stating that they're working hard to try to restore power in St. Mary. We even have some commenters that were being reposted by them. This one here from Matthew stating, color me shocked but greatly impressed that parts of St. James are getting back light already with the damage seen. I didn't think it's possible for 2 months, and it's nice to know that the JPS is hard at work and that they actually got international help. So hopefully everybody is with power very soon. If tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, either way, we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. Stay here, seek shade when you're outside. Eat fresh, try eating cold foods such as salads and fruit. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep, and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites in those reds. And we can see the dry air extending all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. A lot of dry air off the east coast of the US down into the Gulf. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. And right now, everybody wants more dry air. We don't want any moist air at all. We don't want any clouds, especially across Jamaica where people are still without roofs. So we'll take all the dry air that we can get, but not necessarily the Saharan dust. As you can see here, the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days, that's November 8, November 9, and November 10, shows Jamaica in the clear. We have some slight Saharan dust, pushing through the main development region into the Caribbean over the next 3 days, but that won't even be noticeable in the sky. We know that the vigorous plume, as represented by the oranges and the pinks, would definitely be noticeable. You know that vigorous plume would basically mean that we're getting in on some very hazy skies, not to mention triggering respiratory illnesses such as asthma or sinusitis in some persons. So we're indeed grateful that this is what we're seeing right now. Not much in the way of Saharan dust to worry about. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow across the Atlantic, we're seeing the light shades of blues in the Western Caribbean and the Greater Antilles associated with 0.5 for meter wave height, while we have darker shades of blues all the way into dark blues and pinks extending into the main development region that represents anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights, maybe up to 2 to 2.5 meter wave heights out here. And if we take a look at the reason why, it's because of the easterly winds, and we see the weak winds in the Western Caribbean averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 knots at most. Central to Eastern Caribbean averaging anywhere from 20 to 25 knots, maybe even 10 to 15. And we see it definitely stronger than that across the waters to the east of the Caribbean, which explains why the waves are so high over there. But let us close in on Jamaica for our fisher folk. We have 0.8 of a meter wave height expected tomorrow on the north coast, right here to the north of Portland. 0.9 of a meter wave height to the north of St. Anne. 0.5 of a meter wave height to the north of Hanover. 0.4 of a meter wave height to the south of Westmoreland. 0.6 of a meter wave height to the south of Clarendon. While to the south of St. Thomas, 1 meter wave height is expected. And that is because of the easterly winds that are expected across the island tomorrow, up to 12 knots to the north of the St. Anne and Trelawney border from the east, up to 12 knots from the east to the south of St. Thomas, up to 13 knots from the east to the south of Clarendon. And we also see where the air is expected to pile up across section of some central and western parishes. So anything that comes off of the sea would push into eastern Jamaica and bring us rain. And then when we have that daytime heating, then we'd get some rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes. And the upper level winds still seem to be coming in from the west. Looks more west southwest for tomorrow. So we might just get some more of these if we get some thunderstorms tomorrow. Cloud tops being sheared off by that upper level wind shear towards the east. Definitely bring more overcast skies section of the eastern end. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS, they're both valid for 7 a.m. tomorrow, Jamaica time. And what do we see on both maps? We're seeing rainfall across sections of St. Thomas and Portland on both maps. Right here, we're seeing the blue shades. Even as we head into 10 a.m., we're still seeing the rainfall across sections of St. Thomas and Portland. I live in St. Thomas, so I will definitely let you know if I'm getting in on that morning rainfall. Then by afternoon, look at this. We're seeing the blues represent rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. This is 3 p.m. by the way, and we're seeing that both the Euro and the GFS modes are in agreement with that forecast. So I'll definitely keep you updated with what occurs. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here that are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday are showing Jamaica shaded in the greens into the slight yellows. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall up to at least 0.4 of an inch of rainfall at most. The Euro showing that the most rainfall should be out east. GFS has the most rainfall across the north and the east. We'll see it actually plays out, and I guess whatever happens, we just have to take it. Can't do anything but take it. We're in the month of November now, and clearly we usually receive less rainfall in November than what we would get in October. In Westmoreland, whose bar graph is being shown right here, we usually receive 105 millimeters of rainfall in November. That's about the same as 4.1 inches of rainfall. While in St. Mary, we usually receive 139 millimeters of rainfall in November. That's about the same as 5.5 inches of rainfall. And if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of November, you can visit nomadseason.com and that website to show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next one, John 68 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so we just looked at Saturday's forecast. Now it's time to look at Sunday. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica on Sunday morning on the Euro model, but by Sunday afternoon we're seeing some slight shades of greens across the central and eastern end. What does the GFS show? Do we have agreement? Sunday morning, not much of anything. Sunday afternoon, what looks like some slight greens maybe across sections of some central parishes, if not some western portions of some eastern parishes. Not really a strong signal for rainfall on Sunday at all. Then on a Monday, what do we see on the Euro? We're seeing some moisture to the south of us. Then on Monday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across what looks like eastern, central, western Jamaica. What does the GFS show for Monday morning? Rainfall to the south of us. Monday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some eastern and central parishes. What do we see on Tuesday morning? On Tuesday morning, we're actually seeing that rainfall associated with that frontal system extending into the Bahamas, section of eastern Cuba, the western Caribbean, and Central America. Some of that rainfall across sections of Jamaica as well in the green. The GFS, hold on, before we even get to the GFS, what about Tuesday afternoon? Still getting that rainfall across section of the island. And then on the GFS, Tuesday morning, rainfall engulfing the entire island. Tuesday afternoon, still getting some rainfall across especially northern and eastern parishes. What do we see on Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning, still getting rainfall across some northern and eastern parishes. And then on Wednesday afternoon, we're seeing that rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, western parishes. What does the GFS show? For Wednesday morning, rainfall still across some northern and eastern parishes. Wednesday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across some eastern, central, western parishes. And we mentioned this. The GFS showing something right here trying to push into Nicaragua, Honduras, something organized as well, with an L that represents the center of circulation, maybe a low pressure. The Euro is showing a lot of moisture, nothing really organized right now, and the fact that the hurricane center hasn't even posted a code yellow down here and it is within the 168 hour time frame definitely shows that they don't have much faith in it, especially considering that the Euro isn't showing anything, the GFS maybe being biased at this time. So let us work with what the hurricane center states and what the Euro is showing. Heading into Thursday morning, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica. Thursday afternoon, we're actually seeing some moisture across eastern, central, western parishes. Then we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Friday, November 14. We're seeing some slight rainfall across eastern parishes. What does the GFS show? On Thursday morning, not really much of anything across Jamaica. Thursday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, western parishes. And we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is also valid for Friday, November 14. Not really see much of anything across Jamaica at that time. But if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Friday, November 14. And we're seeing that the most rainfall across the Atlantic should be wherever we have the dark reds into the purples, into the pinks, into the peaches, into the slight blues. That represents anywhere from 2 all the way up to maybe 10, maybe 12 inches of rainfall. And we're talking about areas like the Western Caribbean, so the Yucatan, into Guatemala, Belize, sections of Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, sections of southern and western Venezuela, sections of coastal Guyana. Getting some of the rainfall that could trigger some amount of flash flooding. We're also seeing some pockets of 3 to 5 inches of rainfall here near the Bahamas. What does the GFS show? Do we actually have agreement? We definitely do, in the very same spots, especially across Central America, where the GFS, as we stated, was predicting what looks like a tropical system trying to form, so which explains why we're seeing more rainfall totals down there than the Euro. But the main takeaway is that over the next 7 days, these are the spots, Central America and Northern South America, that will be receiving the most rainfall, while the rest of the Caribbean just shaded in the greens, yellows, oranges, where it's at least an inch of rainfall or less. And if we take a look at Jamaica's rainfall Totals for the next 7 days. Both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are also showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Friday, November 14. And we see Jamaica shaded in the blues, greens, yellows. That represents anywhere from 10 millimeters of rainfall all the way to maybe 30 millimeters of rainfall here on the Euro. GFS getting up into the oranges. That represents maybe 50, maybe 60 millimeters, especially across the far eastern end. We'll see how that actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs if God spares life. Taking a look at what's happening here across the rest of the Atlantic. As stated, we have the clouds associated with the trough pushing from east-west into portions of the Windward Islands. We also see some clouds right here in the southwestern Caribbean pushing into Honduras and Nicaragua. And we see that frontal system activity across the waters to the north of the Bahamas into the United States. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery down here near Puerto Rico, what's taking place? So near Puerto Rico, as usual, we're seeing some hit or miss isolated showers in the greens and the yellows near the British Virgin Islands, some isolated showers across southeastern Puerto Rico, southwestern Puerto Rico. And if we load these images from earlier today, we see where we had some rainfall across section of some eastern parts of Puerto Rico and some northwestern parts of Puerto Rico. Regarding the weather we have Doppler, well, the Barbados radar, I'm actually seeing some moderate to heavy rainfall bouts here and there across Barbados, spilling into sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, maybe Grenada getting into some of the action later. Trinidad already getting nailed with some amount of rainfall, and Tobago is next in line. And if we zoom up or roll up, we see that Martinique and Dominica has already been getting their fair share of rainfall. And if we take a look at the weather VF Doppler radar images, we can see that moisture pushing in from the southwest towards Florida. Some rainfall that portion of Cuba had, so too the Bahamas, so too the Yucatan right here into portions of Venezuela, and the waters to the east of Nicaragua where we have that system, what looks like a tropical wave. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that the most rainfall of the next 24 hours should be wherever we have the oranges into the reds here. And we're talking about an inch of rainfall or less, a portion of Honduras into Nicaragua, Costa Rica, so too anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, just some isolated pockets of rainfall wherever we have the greens into the yellows into the oranges. We're talking about the Bahamas, section of Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda. So too some rainfall possible for portions of Guyana, coastal Suriname and French Guiana, Venezuela, Colombia, sections of El Salvador and southern Guatemala getting into some of the action as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. Taking a look at what's happening across the Eastern Pacific, as you can see here, the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook shows that tropical cyclone activity is not expected during the next 7 days. And this is the reason why nothing really organized right now across the Eastern Pacific. We see a lot of clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone right down here, extending from east-west into the Central Pacific. Nothing trying to get its act together at this time. I know that if something should try to form, the next name on the list is Sonia. Taking a look at the Western Pacific, so we can see that Typhoon called Imagery is no longer a thing. It pushed into Vietnam and dissipated. But we now have Typhoon Phang Wang. Yesterday it was Tropical Storm Phang Wang. Now it is Typhoon Phang Wang. And look at the deep convection associated with this hurricane. We know that in the Western Pacific they call them typhoons. I mean, that's some deep convection. The rainbow satellite imagery getting into the yellows, oranges, reds, and even some amount of whites and blacks in there as well. That's crazy. And if we take a look, by the way, at some of the footage here in Vietnam by Typhoon called Imagery, we actually have, you know, some footage showing how the place was battered by the storm in general. I mean, look at the level of destruction that took place. It's crazy. The place was destroyed, and this is what typhoons or hurricanes do in general. I mean, look at the level of destruction. Basically something similar to what happened in Jamaica here. I mean, look at the area by the coast. It is just a bad situation in general. Regarding the Typhoon Phang Wang, we can see it right here just to the east of the Philippines, trying to get its act together at this time. It is now pushing towards the west-northwest. It is packing 70 knot winds. We know that systems that pack anywhere from 65 to 83 knot winds are classified as category 1 typhoons or category 1 hurricanes. It is expected to continue pushing towards west northwest, then eventually making it up to 115 knots. We know we're talking about category 4 status. So over there they don't call them major hurricanes. When it gets to category 4 to category 5 status, they refer to them as super typhoons. And if it's gonna be making it up to 115 knots and anywhere from 113 to 136 knots is category 4, you know, we're talking about a major hurricane. It was a super typhoon before landfall, and as you can see, making a landfall in Manila, the mainland here in the Philippines. Boy, the Philippines can catch a break. Then eventually curving northward and then eventually northeastward and making landfall possibly into Taiwan. Taiwan, boy, another country there that usually gets a lot of bad weather, and who knows, maybe curving back into China or maybe affecting Japan. Either way, we know that we have a lot of friends or relatives from those countries that, you know, are from Jamaica or the Caribbean in general, so we definitely have to stay updated to see exactly what unfolds. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.